literally not done. So to be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're going to show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're going to show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're going to show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, it's true. They're like, if everything's not perfect and it's not done, and what if we're going to change things? I was like, we want it to go. I literally brought the movie with me on the airplane. Like I have like a folder with like a disc, like a hard drive.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, the massive Hollywood stars' careers might be over. And the federal court that's housing a huge $400 million lawsuit against them, a judge today did not necessarily rule in their favor. Blake Lively is in the middle of a massive career implosion, and it was her choice to market a movie, It Ends With Us, a book written by Colleen Hoover, as a light movie that you would wear florals with and take your friends to, when the actual contents of the movie was a story revolving around a woman named Lily and her DV relationship with her husband, Ryle. It was tone deaf, and fans did not like the way that it was received. She also chose to shamelessly promote her hair care line and alcohol brands and jeans. Lively and Baldoni, the director of It Ends With Us, are now in the middle of two lawsuits. On the one hand, Blake Lively is suing Justin and claims that Justin and his production company, Wayfair, had a hostile work environment, that she was the victim of SH and inappropriate contact on set, and she also claims that they did a massive smear campaign to ruin her reputation. This all culminated with an article that was published by the New York Times accusing Justin of trying to bury Blake in bad press. Justin's team had to aggressively fight back because, well, the New York Times article made him lose his job. He lost his agent at WME. He was dropped by his podcast. He had deals that he lost. I mean, he has movies in the works that are at risk now of not getting produced and made because of what she's claiming against him. She's suing him for $250 million. And the crux is that she believes he's running a smear campaign. Well, Justin, on the flip side, says, no. I didn't defame. I didn't smear you, and I certainly didn't SH you. You are using these false allegations against me, and you leveled these allegations against me to take over and steal the movie It Ends With Us from Wayfair, a movie we held the rights to. And they believe that Lively and Reynolds colluded because they allegedly want the rights to the next sequel, It Starts With Us. Well, it's been a wild few weeks. I've been covering it over on my Instagram, and I'm bringing it here to YouTube because my audience there says there can never be too many people involved in a story. So today in court, the issues at hand were related to Blake Lively wanting a gag order because she claims that Brian Friedman, who is Justin Baldoni's attorney, is defaming her in the public, and that he's trying to litigate the case in the public. Brian Friedman, he fought against that, and he told in a filing to the court that he was forced to respond and release information because Lively allegedly colluded with the New York Times, provided a confidential CRD complaint, which is not a public record, and provided it to the New York Times. Thus, the article was released in December, and the magnitude in which it impacted Justin's career, the devastation that that article did to Justin's career, cannot be underscored by the losses he's had with his agency, his podcast, and other business ventures. This case has been complicated because people that love Lively say that no woman should have to tolerate this in the workplace. But as the evidence has been revealed, and over the weekend, Brian Friedman had a website put up with the amended complaint, which includes the New York Times, along with Lively Reynolds and her agent Leslie Sloan and Leslie Sloan's PR company, and a timeline, which provided tons of evidence, videos, links to videos, and text messages and emails and documents that seem to suggest that Lively has been weaponizing false allegations of SH against Wayfair and Justin Baldoni, along with the co-producer Jamie Heath, in an attempt to hijack a film. And anytime, according to the evidence, that Lively seemed to not get her way, she would continue to level these allegations, and the gravity of these allegations would change. She agrees that all of these inappropriate things stopped after they resumed filming in 2024, but yet she now claims that her bad press that she received during the film promotion, where she willingly made ridiculous comments and treated DV carelessly, she's blaming this on Justin. So if you ask me, I'm on pro Justin. I don't believe Lively. There's too much evidence in this case, in my opinion, thus far, that does not prove that she's doing this for the right reasons. And instead, I think being pretty narcissistic and doesn't like to be told no. And anytime a narcissist is told no, what do? Retaliate. So in federal court today, things didn't go well for her. And I don't think for Blake, it's going to make her very happy. At issue for today's hearing was a pretrial conference, and Blake's team wanted the pretrial press smear campaign that they claim that Brian Friedman is doing by releasing documents and videos and all the things. They want him gagged. They want a gag order. Gag orders are extremely hard to get in federal court, and the press has a right to know about public records and publicly held court cases. So gag orders are very rarely granted, and the gag order was not granted today. But according to reports, both sides were arguing pretty passionately to the judge about why this needed to stop. The devastation and the impact to Justin Baldoni is astronomical in comparison to anything that Blake Lively could be experiencing at this time. Even amid all of the public backlash that I believe she is rightfully receiving, she still likely has no problem getting a job. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I kind of feel like her career is over. But the court hearing, if you know anything about federal court, these judges don't play. Both the attorneys argued that each side had been negatively impacted. Friedman said that his clients have lost hundreds of millions of dollars as a result of what Blake Lively has done with her collusion with the New York Times to present a one-sided false narrative. They have provided so much evidence in their filings that seriously disputes everything that Blake has said. There is video evidence of her interviews that completely corroborates what their arguments are about her. And Lively is a very bad narrator. That was what her line was about Lily, but she herself is a bad narrator, and she told on herself a lot in her interviews, even admitting to stealing the editing process, the writing, the wardrobe, the marketing, all from Wayfair. I mean, she said this in podcasts. It's going to be hard for her to prove that she didn't do this, given the fact that it was Justin's film and Wayfair's production, yet she came in at the 10th hour and stole it all. But a judge told them, Judge Lewis Lippman, who presided over their hearing, refused to issue a gag order, declined to impose restrictions at all on Justin Baldoni's attorney, and just reminded Justin's attorney that he needs to follow the federal civil rules of conduct for attorneys, but a gag order, no, there is absolutely no gag order in place. Although they did get a warning that if this continues and it escalates and it gets worse, they have no problem pushing up the trial to from March of 2026 to earlier. A second issue that was addressed during this hearing was that Blake Lively doesn't want to be deposed by Brian Friedman, the attorney for Justin Baldoni and Wayfair. She through her attorneys, Gottlieb, claimed that she doesn't feel comfortable being around a guy that has defamed her character. I mean, this is a woman that doesn't want you to look at her. You can't touch her. She can say whatever she wants to you because she's a ball buster. But she also, in the federal court system, wants to decide who gets to depose her. I'll tell you one thing, when it comes to depositions, you don't get to decide who deposes you. You can request the other team work with you and maybe give a different lawyer, but to go to a court and go to a judge and ask them and demand this, to me, I found it hysterical. So I wasn't surprised at all that a judge would not allow this to move forward and reminded Blake's attorneys that Blake doesn't get to decide who deposes her. She's a participant. She's a co-defendant on the one side, a plaintiff on the other side, because there's a cross complaint here. And Justin's team gets to decide who deposes her. So the gag order doesn't happen, and Brian Friedman can 100% still depose her. This was not a good day for Blake. Blake and Brian are bullies and have been bullying a smaller, more of like a small, lower budget production and film company to get their way. It's like David versus Goliath. I know some people that follow me might be completely surprised because I generally believe all women, but there's women that she's suing on the other side that I believe more. And I think it's unfair at times to say that we have to believe all women because sometimes women do lie and not all men are terrible people. I am all about believing all women, but Blake Lively's trail of tears and lies are so easy to find. I want to show you a clip of something I've shared over on my Instagram of her flat out admitting on a podcast to stealing and taking over this production. She was not hired to be an editor, a producer, a director, a writer. She wasn't hired. She was hired to act. She got a vanity credit as an executive producer. That was it. But she used all of this and came in like a wrecking ball. Here's what I found.
I work with Eric Damon, who is the stylist, the costume designer on Gossip Girl. But anyone who works with me,
I love this.
it's like drinking through a fire hose. You're like, wow, I come in and I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. But it's just because I really I find that fashion is storytelling. It's a way to message so much more than you can with words. Sometimes it's a silent way to message things. So the way that I come into a character is always through the fashion and through the costumes. So
saw in another interview you said that Ryan, actually, your husband Ryan Reynolds, wrote part of that rooftop scene.
No,
is that true?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I would have to compare it to the original one, but that's 99% his. Yeah, he just added, I mean, Chrissy Hall wrote an incredible screenplay. It was, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this film. But also, there are natural tweaks and modifications that come in when the actor is hired and you're trying to infuse your own personality and your own authenticity. And it's like, women are people of multitudes. And, I think that it was important to me that it didn't just feel like someone's interpretation of like, female gaze. Like it really was, this is what we like, this is what we listen to, this is what makes us feel these vibes. And we had an incredible music supervisor, Season Kent, and one of our editors, Shane Reed, who, fun fact, he was my editor on Taylor's music video that I directed. And I was obsessed with him. And I was like, this guy is amazing. And he never edited a movie before. He just finished Deadpool and Wolverine, and he came on and helped us with this one. And he has incredible taste in music. And we share the same composer as well from Deadpool and Wolverine. So there's a lot of sharing happening this weekend.
Love this.
Baldoni and Wayfair are basically saying that she walked into this production and just took it over. And that's her admitting to it. She admits to rewriting scenes. She admits to walking in like drinking from a fire hose. She admits to taking over the wardrobe. By the way, the wardrobe budget went over by $500,000. They had already purchased a whole wardrobe for the character Lily, and she brought in her own person. She brought in her own composer. She brought in her own editors. She hired an editor that had never made a film before. A Taylor Swift video was on his resume. She took over all aspects, and this was not her film to take over. She even, at one point, as I saw in the beginning of this video, took part of the film, like a rough cut of the film, and brought it to Colleen Hoover's Book Bonanza. Every film that goes out there in the world has a distribution agreement, and previewing it can actually impact negatively the distribution of a movie. It can kill a movie. It can get copied. People could be filming the movie with their phones. But she stole the movie. She brought it on a plane and she showed a rough cut without the permission of the studio. They told her not to, and she did it anyway. She didn't listen to Sony. She didn't listen to Wayfair. She doesn't listen to federal judges. She flat out says she did this and now wants us to believe she's the victim of Justin and that she didn't have any power. How do you have power if you're having his name removed from posters? He's not allowed to come to the premiere. He had to go to the basement, you guys, for the film premiere. He wasn't allowed to do any promotions with them when it came to the film press. He had to leave the red carpet before she even got there. And I think the most disgusting piece of evidence that came out from their timeline was this apology that she wanted Justin and Wayfair to put out when she was getting bad press for the own horrible decisions she was making marketing this. Sometimes it's called organic backlash. And if you do something that upsets the public, they will react. And you don't need a smear campaign that's orchestrated. I think all of this is 100% organic. So the statement was provided to Justin's team on August 12th, 2024. This statement was to help with the backlash, and she wanted them to take responsibility for it. The filing that was made in federal court, which was a timeline, an exhibit that was connected to the amended complaint, says this. Statement prepared by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on behalf of Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfair. It Ends With Us was a troubled production which we take full accountability for. We are very sorry to everyone we caused upset to privately and publicly. Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and the entire cast and crew led with professionalism every step of the way, and any negativity aimed at them is ours to own. By the way, you guys, Blake was getting backlash because she was promoting her alcohol brands, her hair care lines, jeans, and dismissing domestic violence. We mutually agreed that the cast would be promoting the film separately and understood why. We have always said we were not perfect, and even if unintentionally make mistakes, we will always own them. We hold ourselves accountable. It's not anyone's job but ours, and that's part of being man enough. We will practice what we preach. We are learning and growing from this experience, and we thank everyone for their patience as we find a better way to proceed. We are very proud of the film and the welcome arms that have been received. Part of our work is to have uncomfortable conversations for public growth. The film is doing that on screen, and we are doing that off screen. Thank you to the cast and crew and public for the opportunity to be imperfect and to be given space to learn and grow with humanity and dedication. They wanted Wayfair and Justin to take the fall because Blake was acting a fool on Instagram and in interviews and acting ridiculous and getting backlash that was deserved. That statement is the epitome of narcissistic entitlement. To have someone take the fall for your choices and bully them and say that you're going to you're going to put this out or else, it's wild. And they wouldn't do it. They didn't do it. Blake's backlash didn't stop. She couldn't recover. And so they allege that in October, she started working with the New York Times, according to metadata, on a smear campaign to ensure that he did take the fall for this. And then again, when they refused to sell the rights of the movie, bend and break and give them what they wanted, they file this lawsuit. And my opinion is they filed the lawsuit to try to get ahead of the lawsuit that he was filing against them. They were trying to be offensive versus defensive because her lawsuit falls apart when you look at the evidence. So Blake's career, I hope, and Ryan's career for this behavior, I hope, is over. But we'll have to wait and see. Justin had a great day in court. I stand by what I've said. If you get mad at me, that's fine. But what are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.